Happy Thursday. It is April 30th. It's the last day of the month. We made it. And also the good news is we heard that the government will not be extending their federal regulations to keep us inside. So that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And I apologize if you clicked in earlier and found that we had a bit of technical difficulties. I see we're running again, so that's great. I apologize, folks. Modern technology, it's a blessing. So let's get to the news before we get to our guests. So it's Thursday. So what does that mean? That means the job report came out. And unfortunately, as we've seen the last 4 weeks, it's not getting any better. Today, the report came out that more than 3.8 million folks applied for unemployment. Adding that to the numbers that we've been doing, that puts us at over 30 million. We have not seen these numbers since the Great Depression. Not good. And to add to that, a recent survey done says about 3/4 of Americans favor continuing the shutdown for another 2 weeks to stem the spread of coronavirus, compared to only about 10% who are opposed to doing so. This poll was done by Business Insider and SurveyMonkey. The poll was conducted April 28th and April 29th among 2,000 respondents and found 50% strongly support at least another 2 weeks of social distancing measures, with another 25% saying they supported. 6% said they opposed continuing measures, compared to 4% who were strongly opposed to these measures. So it's interesting, right? I mean, I'd love to hear in the comments how you guys feel about this. So, now we're sitting here with roughly 30.3 million, that is bananas, that have now filed for jobless aid in the last 6 weeks. That is more, there's some interesting stats on this. That is more people that live in New York and Chicago metropolitan area combined. Put that into your brain housing group and let that spin around for a minute. That is straight bananas. In other news, Costco has announced they are the first large retailer to require across the United States you wear a mask when you go in. I know a lot of people are either fans or not fans of this, but absolutely that's what they're doing. So you have until, if you don't want to wear a mask when you go to Costco, you have till May 4th. So get that going. Everybody's favorite son-in-law, Jared Kushner, he stood up in front of the media today and yesterday, and he said, I love him. He said, we're on the other side of this thing in the medical aspect. The federal government rose to the challenge, and this is a great success story. This is 24 hours after we actually hit 1 million cases worldwide and passed the death toll that we had in Vietnam, which is super strange to me to be talking about Vietnam numbers. I don't know what our country's obsession is with large death tolls. I mean, growing up, we were always comparing things to Pearl Harbor. Then we had 9/11 and we compared everything to 9/11. And then coronavirus hit, and then everybody's like, hey, it's not bad. We have, more people die from smoking and this and that. I don't know why we love to compare death to death. As long as it's not one of your relatives, are you cool with it? You could throw those stats around. I have a hard time with it because my parents sit in the exact people who could be affected. I have a daughter with a heart condition. So maybe keep your weird Google University graduate opinions to yourself. When stop comparing things to death. You look stupid. I'm just going to put that out there. Don't say that stuff. Come on. Let's stop comparing things to that. All right, moving on. The Simon Property Group, the largest mall owner in the United States, is planning to reopen a number of its properties soon, which is weird because we just talked about this yesterday with our guest, Pavlina. We were talking about retail spaces reopening. A lot of stores probably don't have the memo from this mall, but a lot of them still aren't opening. It's kind of like Texas said, we're opening up, but the movie theater said, we're not opening up. Also, but this is positive news, so we do have some positive news in here, I promise you. Not Jared, the Javits Center. The Javits Center is ending its medical support mission on May 1st, or tomorrow. The military will continue to support New York City health and hospitals' public healthcare systems, with more than 630 medical personnel from the Army, Navy, and Air Force still embedded in 11 local hospitals. And right before we came on air, we were able to see the USS Comfort sailing out of New York and heading back to its home base in Norfolk. So, hey, positive things. It's good to see that ship go. We also heard right before we went on air that President Trump said he will not be expanding the federal government social distancing guidelines, but there is a grim to consider. The U.S. death toll has now edged past President Trump's initial 60,000 marker of what the final American, again, we love the death tally that we were supposed to have. So this is also putting a lot of political peril out there, measuring his success responding to this epidemic. All the politicians that are running for office seem to be measuring success off of how many people are dying, which blows me away. Then you have, where else are here? Because I kind of want to get to our guests. So we'll go to a military story, fitting because it's written by a military reporter, where this report came out. Marine Corps journalist James Laporta from AP shared an article that talked about the early days following the capture of an American contractor in Afghanistan earlier this year. Navy commandos raided a village, and they raided a village and detained suspected members of the Taliban again, while they were looking for this gentleman. They did find his cell phone and a few other things, but they haven't released very much information. And two positive sports notes. The NBA has started talking about using Walt Disney World in Orlando. As we know, Disney is it's in Florida, with their governor DeSantis basically wanting to open up the state. Disney and the mayor of Orlando in Orange County, Florida, not Orange County, California, Orange County, Florida. Strange that both Disney parks are both in counties named Orange. But Orange County, Florida has said the parks could come up with their own restructuring plan to when they will start. So we're going to be seeing that coming soon. The NBA would like to use Disney's sports facilities to be able to hold that. Peter, there's enough hotels there. So before they open it up, let them finish their season. They are in major negotiations to talk about this right now. Also with the NBA, they did announce May 1st that the teams that are in non-affected areas could start going back. That was actually squashed and was going to be delayed a little bit further, as teams that are in areas that are still affected can't practice, don't want another team to have a fair advantage on them. And everybody's trying to converge to states like Georgia, Florida, and Texas to start holding their practices. And finally, Cincinnati Bengal fans, you have the #1 draft pick. You got a new quarterback. So that meant Mr. Andy Dalton is out in Cincinnati officially. He finished pretty well as a leader of that team. He's the all-time leading passing TDs with 204, second in passing yards with 31,594. He's the fourth quarter comebacks at 20, and game-winning drives at 24. He's got 3 Pro Bowl nods, and he helped dig them out of dumps to 5 playoff appearances. So good job there. So with all the technical difficulties, we're going to get going here. So let's get to the point with our first guest. Oh, we so fancy now, aren't we? Wow, look at us fancy. So we're going to welcome to the show Marine Corps veteran and Securing Life CEO and founder Brandon Burton. Brandon, how you doing today, bud?
Hey, good, Eric. How's it going today?
You know, minus technical difficulties, it's a darn good day. I woke up breathing, and I got another 24 hours on this earth, so I'm blessed to be here, bud.
I agree, for sure.
So
especially
tell the
right
folks,
now.
So you served in the Marine Corps, obviously.
Yep.
And this is our Veterans and First Responder Thursday. So before we jump into what you're doing now, tell the folks where you went when you were in the Corps, how many deployments did you have, the good stuff.
Nice. Yeah. I was served from 2002 to 2006. And I went to Iraq. I was in Fallujah, Iraq with 5th Marines. And basically that was my tour. And then when I got home, I separated from the military in October 2006. So yeah, it was a really unique experience, very grateful, and taught me a lot about life and how to be a good leader. So very fortunate.
Well, those are good things. It's good to be a good leader in the Marine Corps. Our branch is pretty good at doing that. And yes, we did lead off with the Marine. I know people are at home going, why do they always lead off with the Marines or the Navy? But come on, it's just how it does. So I got to ask, so you were in the infantry, right?
No, I was actually Motor T.
Motor T. Okay, well, even better. This helps my question better, brother.
But I was attached to an infantry unit, though.
I love it. So this leads even a better question for you then. So how do you end up going from Motor T to one of the top financial advisors with a large financial company? You were top guy, right? One of the top guys in Southern California, which isn't a small area. And now you own your own company that is nationally recognized. I see your videos, your athletes on all the time. And that's near and dear to my heart for what I do with my dayside job. So Tell folks how you ended up there.
Yeah, just a really unique story. Just obviously, a lot of people have different stories as a child. My mother struggled as a individual to learn and manage her finances. One thing led to another. I was pretty smart with my money while I was in the military, always a saver, and I knew that I wanted to get out and help people with their money. So basically, after spending I think seven years with Northwestern Mutual. I was a top 1% advisor, and fortunate to just experience working with a lot of successful people, businesses, all scales of people, and basically then realized that technology was going to be the answer to helping people with their finances. So I left that and decided to create Securing Life Today, Making Finances Fun, which it's a digital platform that allows people to easily manage their finances, connect all their accounts in one place. And we're providing education via professional athletes, NFL players, and to help teach people the basics about finances and how to create a financial game plan. So just very exciting stuff going on, working with companies to help them retain their employees, leadership, all good stuff. Very grateful.
Outstanding. So let me ask you this before we're kind of playing catch up here, but before we go, I want you to talk a little bit about obviously the last 8 weeks as we've been just slammed, right? As I led into the show, over 30 million people are unemployed right now, right? And finances and budgets and recovery, I'm sure, are at the top of everybody. I know my 401k has really taken a couple good throat punches to say we got the knife hand coming at it. What are you advising folks? What's some good advice for folks to take their budget and their retirement serious?
Yeah, well, I've been talking about this actually for a long time. I've actually been in the financial industry now for 13 years since I got out of the military in 2006. And before I started this company, one of the biggest things that I saw amongst all people is the lack of organization with finances. And so basically, people aren't organized with their finances, most of them. And so one of the first pieces of advice I can give to anyone is, in order to know where you want to go, you have to create a plan, an understanding of where you are, assessing your 360. So like in the military, they train you to know your 360 degree. And same thing with your finances. You have to know your 360 of your finances. And once you have a plan and understand your 360, you can go about building your finances. So there's a process to it, and technology can really help people with that and help them get organized. So that's one major thing. The other thing too is creating a budget. A lot of people talk about budgeting is dead, or we don't like to budget. Well, ask any Fortune 500 company or any really successful company out there if they don't operate off of a budget or financials that show, distribution, money coming in, money going out. They know every second of every day to the penny what's going on. So consumers actually can really benefit from having tools that can help them organize their finances and plan and strategize like that.
The show, we're going to have you back. Let's get you on next week again, kind of make up for some time that was lost to bring you on. I do want to get on to everybody else so we don't take up everybody's time, but I do appreciate coming on. Before you go, tell folks how they can reach you and get more information about Securing Life Today. You have an amazing organization. I think people should sit down and meet with you. I know you work with some big brands, and if former athletes, professional athletes trust you, that's a good thing. So tell folks how they could get a hold of you and learn more information.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Well, and you're also on our advisory board, so that's really special as well, to another Marine to a Marine. So thank you for that. But just go to securinglifetoday.com, securinglifetoday.com, and you can sign up for a free trial and get free resources like books, ebooks to help you with your finances, free books for your kids. So just go check the website out, and I think you'll have everything you need to succeed with your finances moving forward from there.
I love it. Well, thanks for joining us today. We'll have you back real soon, bud. And Semper Fi, have yourself a good weekend.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
We're catching up, folks. So what I said before we started the show, and I We led off the first show. We had technical difficulties, but this is our veteran edition, veteran and first responder edition. Now, later on in the show, we kind of blend those two together with our last two guests of the day. So I'm going to go with we kind of have a blender right here coming up next with our next guest. He joined like the Army, and then for some reason decided he got out of the Army and wanted to stay in the military. So he picked the the Air Force. So we will be welcoming our next guest to the show. But I did want to show that we're rocking my pockets. If we can remove my little lower third to say Wes's name real fast. I want to support this company because, hey, it's the veteran edition. So if we could take that down. There we go. So if you could see, nope, there we go. See right here, Pocket Square from Pocket Square Heroes. Go check them out. That's for back in the badge today. But Pocket Square Heroes is veteran-owned, Marine Corps veteran-owned. Go check them out. You can get some patriotism on. You've seen these on Fox. I'm pretty sure I've seen one or two of our guests rock these on TV themselves. So anyways, wanted to make sure we got that shout out. We didn't get that earlier. So I'm going to bring on our next guest. He's a TEDx speaker, one of the best of the best. He's a writer, writes for like 5 different government and military publications. One of my favorite people to bounce ideas off. He shared some pretty amazing numbers when we talk about PTSD and military mental health. He's the guy I go to for those answers. So welcome to The Point, my good bud, Wes O'Donnell.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you and I dressed alike today. I mean,
we did, yeah. We're twinkies here.
We're twinsy. I like it. We're twinsy. It's twinsy day here. Yeah. So it's good to have you here, bud. I know you have a new movie, or you're working on your documentary, right? Talking about these great Vietnam veterans and those stories. So let's lead with that. I love recognizing the Vietnam veterans. You know, you and I both served, and everybody that we have on the show that has served, we all served, obviously, after Vietnam. So, we were raised hearing these stories of, some of our parents coming back, our uncles, our loved ones, stories of wearing your uniform in the airport and getting spit on, which always, to me at this stage, I was like, I welcome you to spit on me in my uniform because I would have decked you. So that's just my opinion. So let's talk about your movie, because this is amazing you're putting this together.
Yeah, thanks. So it's called Cry Havoc, and we've spent the last year shooting B-roll. And so we're ramping up to actually interview our 3 Vietnam veterans coming up this summer. And what if I told you that 50 years ago, thousands of American veterans were unwelcome in their own country? And I think it's such a crazy idea to us, to we post 9/11 veterans, because we're put up on this pedestal. And the Vietnam folks, examining how they were treated when they returned home, getting those stories out in the open, I think America is finally ready to face the way we treated our Vietnam heroes. 10% of the baby boomer generation went to Vietnam. And these are men, mostly men, but men and women who came home, and exactly like you said, they were spit on. They came home to empty homes. Their spouses had left them. Their parents had moved out and disowned them. I've heard so many stories that would just make you cringe at the way these guys were treated. So looking forward to getting this documentary out into the public. We're shooting for Veterans Day 2020. So November should be out in the film festivals and hopefully streaming on Hulu and Netflix.
I love that. It'll be great. Put them on Netflix and Hulu so everybody can go out there and watch them. So what's it like? I mean, working and being around these Vietnam vets. I mean, what's that like? I mean, you're an incredible interviewer as it is, but what's it like being around these guys that kind of led the way for those of us who served after, right? That's the way, right? We all grew up watching Full Metal Jacket. Of course, a Marine would say Full Metal Jacket. Platoon, of course, is great. Oliver Stone's, was drafted and told his story. And, we all were raised on those, but you're actually talking to these guys that went through this. So what's that experience been like?
Yeah, I think a lot of the benefits that we enjoy today were really that whole foundation was built because of that Vietnam veteran generation, and because of the way they were treated. I really go out of my way when I see a Vietnam vet wearing a hat, say in Walmart or something, to make sure I give them an elbow bump in the age of COVID and say, hey man, welcome home. I don't say thank you for your service as much anymore, just because it's kind of said so much that it's starting to feel, this is just my opinion, it's starting to feel almost like an empty platitude. But I do say welcome home to those guys. I'm like, hey, you're loved. All of the lessons learned fighting in Vietnam, we applied those lessons to the insurgencies in Afghanistan and Iraq. So without that knowledge, that crucial knowledge, there's a lot more folks that wouldn't have returned home post 9/11. There was one story in particular, real quick, about one Vietnam vet that came home to his family house, to his home that his mom and dad lived in. He knocked on the door, and this strange woman answered the door. He's like, "What are you doing in my house?" And she said, "What are you talking about? This is my house. I live here." Come to find out, in the year he was deployed to Vietnam, his parents had moved out and didn't want anything to do with him because they had heard all the baby killer nonsense on the news, all the anti-war stuff. So he came home homeless, essentially. And these are the types of stories that I'm trying to drill down to.
Whew. What was the last name? Pelosi? Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Nancy's like, I don't support this. Sorry, I couldn't resist. So before we go, we're going to have you back for sure to deep dive into this, and I want to show a little bit of your B-roll when we have you back on. But tell folks how they can learn more information, find out more, and are you raising this just like a grassroots, bootstrapped film project? Are you kickstarting it like so many of these awesome, veteran projects that we've seen out there that have been successful with Vet TV and, of course, the Black Rifle Coffee movie, Range 15? Which,
oh yeah,
fabulous.
Those are instant Hollywood classics right there. I love Vet TV. Vet TV is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I call them classics. So Range 15 is great. Go check it out. It is on your. It's on Amazon. It's fun to put on, and people don't understand. It's really uncomfortable if you're the only person who served in the room, but they're watching it and they're like, "This is interesting humor," and they don't get any of it, and you're just like, "That's funny." Yeah. You're uncomfortable laughing. But tell folks how they can learn more and go check out stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we do have a Facebook page set up for Cry Havoc. We did all of our fundraising for the production last year. Coming up this summer, we are going to throw up another Indiegogo for the marketing. But right now, the best way you can support us is to hop on Facebook and search for Cry Havoc Film, and we'll be looking for you.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, Wes, for joining us. Apologize for the technical difficulties. And we can't wait to have you back on. And remember, folks, go check out Cry Havoc on Facebook, the Cry Havoc Film. Go check that out. See how you could support it. And go check out Wes. He has some amazing posts. We didn't even get into half your articles. I want to have you back as soon as we can to jump into your numbers. Your article still resonates with me. I think you wrote that like 2 years ago with the numbers of, I know everybody is fixated by the number 22 which isn't even good, that people are like, oh, it's only 22 a day. I actually heard someone say that. And I was like, only. It's nice that you just relegate 22 a day as only. But obviously, you've shared an interesting article. We'll share it in this thread afterwards, and I'll make sure when we put this in YouTube that it is shared. Your article brought some light that those numbers are definitely wrong. So we'll have you back on. We'll tease that for now and bring you back on. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. We're catching up. We're We're doing it. Okay, so on to our last two guests, and they do know each other, so it's the fun part. I'm excited to bring on our next guest. I've been following him on Instagram. His quarantine stories on Instagram have kept me entertained. His toilet paper stories are even better. He is amazing. He's kind of done it all. If you want to get out of the military and do everything else that's like badass, our next guest, Jason Piccolo, has done that. He's done everything. So let's bring him on. Jason, welcome to the show.
I don't know if badass is a good word to describe me, but hey, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, well, we're going to do that. I think you're amazing. I mean, your biography is amazing. The organizations that you support, I mean, OSD is an amazing one. Obviously you guys are just killing it with that. But your Instagram has entertained me. Your quarantine stories have just... they're fabulous. They're entertainment, especially right when you started doing it with the toilet paper, where you were like running out to your eye. I was just like, this is hilarious. This is better than a TikTok. So
you know what? I have to get back to that because, man, I'm running out of ideas. Today was quarantine day log 42, and I'm like, wow, what do I do? And I'm like, well, I'll just take a video of me waiting for doing a studio thing.
Oh, so one of the big things that so you served, obviously, you were in the United States Army. So you were Mustanged up, right? You came in as an enlisted guy and came back in as an officer. Just want to make sure I read your biography right. And then you went and worked for ICE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've worked. Yeah, man, I've had a different
everywhere.
career.
So kind of tell people your background. I'm just going to sit here and kind of
I've got this down at 30.
People are like, shut up.
Okay, put the timer on. I think I've got it down to about 30 seconds. So I was an enlisted guy in the Army in the 90s. I was active duty, National Guard and Reserves. I was artillery, intel, commissioned in 99 as an infantry officer. After I commissioned, I became a U.S. Border Patrol agent, and then I became a special agent with the former U.S. Customs working narcotics. I got involuntarily recalled in 05, 06, did a tour in Iraq, attached to the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Forces or anti-terrorism dude. I came back, got a job with the Army CID as a civilian 1811, our criminal investigator, working in the Gitmo investigations, then worked for another DOD entity for a bit. Then I got a job with ICE, then did fugitive operations, and then I worked at ICE headquarters, and then I worked at this White House Security Council's human smuggling cell, and now I work for a different agency, and in between I got a bunch of education. Married, 2 kids, my wife's an FBI agent, and she was also enlisted and then an officer. So boom, I think that was like 30, 35 seconds.
And by the way, when I started and said you're a badass, you're a badass, and we add your wife, Mrs. Piccolo, is a badass also. Just so we just put that all out there. Outstanding. I mean, talk about a civil servant. You epitomize that. The one thing that I love that you are very open about, and I saw you've advertised openings for human trafficking to bring veterans in to be part of that task force. That is amazing that you lead that. You're so open about it. You share it. You get folks out there. Your task force is doing something amazing. I have a daughter who is, almost 16. And
the thing is, I don't even work for Homeland Security anymore. I just do. I'm like almost like a poster, a preview of what you could do if you. And that's what I write about. I say, hey, you know what? ICE, human smuggling, all this other stuff. They do so much more than just immigration. And they do have the HERO program, which is a human exploitation rescue operative, which takes disabled and veterans and puts them to work going after bad guys, like really, really sick bad guys. So yeah, it's a great program.
So you have an amazing series called The Protectors. It's your podcast, and I've seen you teasing that you're turning this into a TV series or a TV channel. Tell folks a little bit more about that, because you've interviewed some pretty incredible people. I already told you when I was emailing back and forth with you, the one near and dear to me was Woody Williams, amazing World War II Medal of Honor recipient. I have to tell you a story before I finish my question for you. So a few years ago, we were at the Army-Navy game. Woody was there, and I was with Elijah Crane from Bottle Breacher, and I had a Marine with me. So Eli had a Bottle Breacher for him and gave it to him, a great picture. And so this other Marine walked up after Eli did his thing. I took a picture of Eli, and then this other Marine had walked up in front of me, walks up and starts talking to Woody. And he's like, yeah, I'm a former Marine. That's what he told Woody. And Woody's like, what? When did we start calling former Marines? And he starts talking about Chesty Puller, which if you're a Marine, Chesty's like... Yeah. He's like modern day Mattis, right? And he just looked at him, and I watched this poor Marine who had to be in his like late 40s just put his head up and just walk off as Woody put him in his place. And I just walk up and I'm like, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, Woody. And he just grinned. I was like, I'm not calling myself former to you. You were charging a pillbox with a flamethrower. So anyways,
Woody was
so talk about the
interview
Protector
ever.
series.
Well, first of all, Woody was the best interview and absolutely best interview I ever had. And I always say that. So the Protectors, what I do is I interview emergency responders, LEOs, veterans, military personnel, and those that support them. And, it's 25, 35, 40-minute talk show. And it's just, I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I'm on like 100 or something episodes, just went into season 2. I also do a show now, it's now 2 to 3 days a week. Before I was doing it every night, called Pick Rep, Piccolo's Report, where I just have your daily dose of positive. And tonight I am debuting a new show on part of OSD on Twitch called Pick Your Brain. And my first guest is Jason Murph from Grill Your Ass Off. And that is going to be on Twitch, my first Twitch show.
Love it. Twitch. And speaking of Grill Your Ass Off, I just cooked a flank steak with some Grill Your Ass Off last night. That's funny that you say that. That is a great company. If you're watching, we're going to plug Grill Your Ass Off right now. Best seasoning out there. And Murph is a great guy. He is fun to talk to. He is a fabulous barbecue man. Talk about a guy you want as your grill master. And Grill Your Ass Off is good. It's not just like branded crap. It tastes good. It goes good. No. It's always in our house. We constantly are resupplying it. It's kind of like Black Rifle coffee. constantly being resupplied in our house. We're not plugging any of these things at all, are we? No. But so
do it
talk
all the
about
time,
OSD. That group, you know, you guys are doing some amazing things over there, and that's partly why I wanted you on, is to talk about OSD, Operation Supply Drop. You guys are doing amazing things for our troops. You know, Glenn has been just crushing it. So talk a little bit about that organization. Let the folks out there who are watching, let them know what that exactly is.
So first off, go to weareosd.org, and it's now rebranding in Outperform, Serve, and Develop. And I took a volunteer job over there to help out with corporate philanthropy. I can actually pronounce that now, corporate philanthropy, to try to help bring awareness to the organization. And what we're doing is right now, it's hard getting products, we call them supply drops, out to the military personnel who are pretty much stranded. They don't have a support ecosystem right now. So what we're doing is we're providing packages to them, and we call them supply drops, and they're like Xboxes, games, all sorts of awesome things. And that's kind of what we do. After COVID, we're going to go back to the grassroots, which is, you know, bringing veterans together for awesome programs like hunting, shooting, sports, anything we could do to bring the veteran community together rather than just throwing stuff at them. We want to bring them together into what we call an ecosystem. That's one of the reasons we're doing the show tonight, is just kind of bring more awareness to what we're doing.
Outstanding. So we're going to put that in the lower third so everybody can see that. We're also going to put it in our YouTube. So Jason, we want to thank you for coming on. You have been great. Again, you are, I mean, your resume is one that I think you should see in movies that Jack Ryan probably has. So seriously, you've done a lot, my friend. So, I mean, I think I'm incredible because I was in the Marine Corps and like patting myself on the back. But seriously, when you're reading your bio for 35 seconds, I'm like, okay, crap. I'm like, yay.
Nah, not at all, man.
You're a humble. I love it. You're a humble warrior. I love it, my friend.
I'm closer to 50 than 40,
me.
so I just had plenty of years, man. But I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Oh, no.
Appreciate
So
it.
before you go, real fast, I want to make sure you can plug whatever you want to plug. I know you said tonight, 7 p.m. on Twitch, but where else could folks find you in any organization that you think folks should be looking at and follow you at?
Just, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Jason Piccolo. My website, jasonpiccolo.us. I have Protectors TVs coming soon to Amazon Fire and Roku. And we're going to bring a whole bunch of different stuff to that. It's going to be free. There may be some donations where you can help me support and pay for what it costs me each month. But yeah, everything I do is I don't get paid for, and I just enjoy helping out.
You are awesome, my friend. Thank you again for joining us. Semper Fi, and have a great weekend. Thanks,
you too, brother.
Thanks. So this is our next guest is what blew up my phone all day. Like, how did you get him? His videos are hilarious. Can you tell that I have background in law enforcement? Yeah, these are my friends who obsess. So in case you don't know our next guest, we put a little something together. Well, he put it together and we ripped it off and put it on our show. But in case you don't know our next guest, here's a little clip to give you some insight.
I decided that I would experiment with that. Sound like a angsty teenager. It's time to experiment. We all go through that phase, right? Clearly through this trailer, you're getting to know my sense of humor. I started on Vine with these 6.5-second videos like this.
Don't give me a ticket, officer. I'll do anything.
Anything?
Yes, anything.
Will you learn how to drive?
I'm on a new level.
Hey, license and registration, please. What's with the outfit, officer?
Casual Fridays, bro.
Then Instagram, I started posting there, and they upped theirs from, I think, 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So, like, I upgraded with these.
How's it going today, sir?
Is there a problem, officer?
Ooh, Klondike bar.
I know you want it.
They are delicious.
What would you do for it?
What would you do?
So there you have it. In case you didn't know Mike the Cop, let's bring Mike the Cop to the show. Mike.
Hey, what's up?
It's so good to have you on. I've been following you for such a long time. It feels almost like high school girl crushish to have you on the show. Your humor is great. I love your videos. They provide hours of entertainment. It's funny. I was sitting at the breakfast table this morning, and I have a 13-year-old boy at that. And he's asking, okay, Dad, who's on the show today? And I said, you. He's like, I was just watching his videos. I'm like, That's where we're at. So he's like, he's funny and his humor's great. So you're touching all the right audiences. And I probably shouldn't have said touching. That sounds so inappropriate. But, I have teenagers who are, TikTokers and Instagrammers, and your videos are hilarious, right? You're out there and you're doing great things. So what made you come up with this, right? Obviously you're in law enforcement and you support our amazing, you back the badge, but what made you come up with start making these videos?
Man, we had an organization called Humanizing the Badge that started in 2015. And honestly, we were just looking for new ways as Facebook was developing what they were looking for to continue to grow our audience and bring awareness to our nonprofit. And that's when I saw Officer Daniels on Vine, and my kids were showing me his stuff and introducing me to this whole thing called Vine. And I thought, well, if it's working for him, maybe it can work for us, not really me, but organizationally, if we can make some videos. And I just turned the phone on and made a quick little video. And I don't know what you want to call it, luck or whatever, but it just took off pretty quickly and seemed to be a wise move at the moment as far as getting people's attention. And then in early 2016, I wanted to make sure that our nonprofit wasn't me centered or anything like that. So that's when I started the quote unquote Mike the Cop channels up, proper, and went from there.
Are great channels, I can tell you that. So let me ask you, because this was a question that a few people have asked me. I asked a couple of my buddies, what do you want to ask Mike the Cop? And one of the questions was, do you ever get crap because you're in your uniform and you're filming, right?
Yeah.
And do you ever get hate mail, oh, you're not working? Or have you ever had your superiors or anybody ask you hey, were you how do you carve that fine line of answering that? I'm sure you get hate mail. So
yeah, I definitely I get hate mail every day, so I'm very used to that. But man, I always tell people I'm already a cop. You can't call me anything worse than I've been called out on the job. So do your worst. But when I first started, I had a sergeant that was really smart with me. Told me, hey, make sure that when you are filming, you're tagged out in the system on break or on lunch, that kind of a thing. I always blurred out my patches or my badge, that sort of a thing, before it ever became a thing. Once there started being a little bit more attention to it, I would only film when I was not actually working. It's all off duty. And eventually I just literally got a badge that says Mike the Cop on it with the number 1 or whatever. No patches on the uniform, just filming on my own. That way I could just eliminate that, because I never wanted to put my department at risk. But I always obviously continued to still want to make content, and I was never going to let a department get in the way of that.
Outstanding. So can we talk about this video you made last week with chocolate chip cookies?
What did I make a video with chocolate chip cookies?
Yeah. I heard that there's this little video out there. I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Hey, if you have evidence of this chocolate chip cookie video, let me know. I'm happy to answer questions about it.
Just some text messages coming in to ask that question. So
That's funny.
Chocolate chip cookie video. There we go. So let me ask you. So obviously, all fun aside, I mean, it's good to see you actually work. You work with a lot of veteran organizations. I've seen you with Black Rifle, which is outstanding.
Yep.
Big fan of the boys over at Black Rifle doing big things. So what do you see with the veteran and law enforcement kind of bleed over? Granted, yes, as an infantryman coming out of the Marine Corps, law enforcement was my call, and I did that for a short time. Now I'm older and not doing that, obviously, but it's kind of the bleed over. So why do you think law enforcement and vets get along so well? We basically just go hand in hand together.
Yeah, I think from the departments that I've been involved with, I would have to say that somewhere between 30 and 40% of all the cops that I've worked with along the way have military experience. I'm not one of them, but a lot of my good friends have that experience, of which I'm kind of jealous about. I look back and think, man, I really wish I would have done that for just the experience of it. But I think there's a few things. One is you tend to eliminate a lot of the noise that a lot of other jobs can bring, at least in theory. I think that the policing can get political at certain levels and in certain ways, but for the most part, you can do something that you enjoy. You feel like you're making a difference, you're contributing, and you can also have a sense of mission and purpose in that that fits the personality, right? This drivenness, adventure, changing a little bit day to day or situation to situation. But at the end of the day, it's really about a bigger mission than just yourself. And I think that that's what draws a lot of military folks into the first responder world, even if it's not policing. But I think that's what sort of joins them together, at least from my experience, is that sense of real good clarity on what the mission is that you're going to work for every day.
So let's talk about COVID-19, because we can't go without talking about COVID-19. It's been, I think, overhyped, is my opinion. I'd love to have your feedback, because you have one side of the house says we're going to get back to work, and then you have the other side. I started the show off reading the news where there's a report that came out from SurveyMonkey and Business Insider where they interviewed 2,000 people, and those people said we want 2 more weeks of sitting at home. I don't know who those people are. I want to go personally shake their necks, because
they're the people that are getting paid more to not work than they are to work.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I'm seeing that. I have a good buddy of mine.
Like you and I.
Yeah.
Our tax dollars are helping keep them overemployed right now.
So, how have you been working with first responders who are doing just an amazing job, truly on the front lines, right? Kind of pushing the separation back between, I know when we talk about it in the military as a frontline fighter, we have a demarcation line that we can clearly see, right? Where we travel someplace to go fight our battles. Instead, your brothers and sisters and the folks working in the hospitals, you guys are just doing an amazing job. You're, having to go, especially in New York, which is unbelievable, with half that, what did they get to, like 45% of the force was out at one time on
there's
sick.
a lot of people.
Yeah, just a damn lot of people for a big city. So what have you been doing to support, all this stuff going on during Corona, especially in law enforcement?
Well, I mean, I guess first hope that the content that I'm putting out there, at least on some level, is encouraging to people doing it, to hopefully encourage them to keep doing their jobs well, to encourage them to do their jobs rightly, without overstepping, without engaging in what I think are unconstitutional overreaches by some of these governors, and hopefully keeping them encouraged to stay in the fight and do it well as best as they can. I partnered with Black Rifle Coffee in April to get coffee, and I think we did over 19,000 bags at the last time I got an update of getting it into the hands of doctors and nurses and other frontline sort of like first responders, including police officers. So keeping people fueled and encouraged, and letting them know that, hey, even though I am in law enforcement, I want to champion you being acknowledged and remembered and encouraged, hopefully.
So we're getting a couple different questions in from vets, and they all want to know what your shirt says.
Oh, it says violence and coffee.
I like it. And you can order that at blackrifle.com.
No, I don't know. This is from a different company, and they're gonna kill me that on the spot. I can't remember who it was, but look it up. It's there somewhere.
Right now, Matt Best is like, let's go print off this shirt right now. But let's talk about these governors and this overreach, right? A lot of people are talking about it just this morning. Well, it broke late last night, but just this morning on the West Coast, Governor Newsom, Nancy Pelosi's nephew, shut down all. Sorry, I like to bring that up. It's just entertaining to me, because sometimes he's on the good side of the president, and then when he does dumb stuff, he's on the bad side. So it's entertaining. And then it just ties back to the Wicked Witch of wherever planet she came from, the leader of the Jurassic Park. They shut down the beaches and the state parks. How is that even enforceable? You being in law enforcement, how could you go up? Number one, it's not an order, right? I mean, how do they order somebody who has freedoms to not go to something that they pay taxes to go to?
Yeah, the whole thing is nonsensical to me. I mean, I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to go on the thoughts on COVID-19, but the idea that you can restrict the movements of free people is pretty crazy. And I think quarantining is for sick people. It's not for free, healthy people. And I agree with the perspective from a constitutional side of things that there needs to be due process when you restrict people's rights. There's one case to be made for public health in terms of the hands of these governors, but at what point does the data not justify the actions of the public health. And so I think we long have since gone beyond that, even in this short 45 days or whatever we've been in this quote unquote lockdown. So it's nuts to me. I would never enforce that. I don't even enforce park hours, period. Like if the park is open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., unless you literally are stabbing someone while you're smoking crack in the park, I have no business caring that you're in the park. The hours to a place that you paid taxes to have, that's not my business.
It's funny that you say that because that's my next question. We've all seen these videos. Again, we'll pick on the state of California just because it's so fun to pick on. But you've seen the guy jogging down the beach, and you've seen those poor officers basically chasing the man and arresting him. We've seen what is causing these folks to actually enforce this? I don't get it. And I'm a huge supporter of the badge. But when I see these videos and I'm like, why are they arresting this mother at a park in front of her kids? I mean, she wasn't slinging crack. She wasn't doing anything. I don't understand why. What is the point of even going after arresting people? How can you seriously? I've written reports. So you and I both can agree on, could you imagine writing an arrest report for mother at park with where does that even fall under the penal code? So
it's nuts. I think that there's one aspect is that, of course, like everything else, we can't live our lives under the auspice that just because we see it on the internet, that's the exception is the rule. Even if, because you could take for example, footage of a quarterback fumbling the ball behind the line of scrimmage or throwing an interception. I could string together literally 2 hours of footage of that happening and say, you see, quarterbacks are pointless and they do nothing for a football team. And of course, that's a sheer perception issue because I'm highlighting when it doesn't work and then saying that exception is the norm, which of course we know that's not the norm. Most of the time they don't fumble. Most of the time they don't throw an interception. And I think that's part of the case of what we're seeing right now is the media, of course, attaching to the exceptions and trying to portray them as the rule. The other side of that is where it is happening, these cops are morons. And we have self-fulfilling prophecy where essentially we have for so long made law enforcement an unappealing career to go into that the people that go there are already people who don't have a deep appreciation for the oath of upholding and defending the Constitution and people's rights. And so a lot of it is self-fulfilling prophecy. You get what you ask for. And the people have for so long bought into that perception lie, and it perpetuates and self-fulfills because people go, you know what, at this point, I'm not going to keep doing this and risk myself and my family's reputation for false perceptions. And I stay in the fight, and I think that we need people who do, but I think there's kind of a couple things at work when it comes to seeing this stuff on the internet.
It's funny that you bring that up, Mike. I remember when I was going to the Sacramento Sheriff's Academy and they played videos of a very famous incident in Los Angeles. Again, we're picking on California.
In the
famous
90s?
Incident that was televised on mainstream media in the early 90s. And they showed the whole video, which put a drastic spin on everything. So it number one, having gone through post and gone through an academy and understanding everything that goes on, being in the badge and having nothing but utmost respect for those who risk their lives day in and day out and are spit upon here. People have a natural hatred for the men and women who serve, which just blows my mind not to support law enforcement. Saying that you think that one bad cop, like everybody in the Marine Corps or the Army, is an angel, trust me, we're not. We got brigs full of people. So it's hard to say everybody is a hero because not everybody gets out with an honorable discharge. We have a guy running for president whose son got bounced out of the Navy for thinking cocaine was cool to do while in uniform.
I don't see the problem.
Oh, whoopsie.
Oh, this is America.
It's America. Well, he's talking to a wall right now anyway, so somebody go tell him, Mr. Biden, turn around. People are talking to you. He doesn't know where he's at. But, that's my thing. And I don't understand why people have this, to me, I'll watch, what's that real TV that's on right now? I've been hooked on it ever since it came out. Like the Cops 2.0 that's on A&E.
Live PD.
Yeah. Is that real? I guess I ask you.
Oh, no, it's real. I know people that are on there. That's definitely real.
Right, cool. I just want to know if how much of that. It's really good. They're sharp. They produce that on the fly. I'd like to see you on there. I think that would be beyond entertainment. But
they would never put me on there.
So here's my last question for you. I
Mainstream police world does not like me. Trust me.
They don't like you. Wow.
No. Admins have a problem with me historically.
So it's funny you say that. So do you have groupies when like you're out and you're on duty? Do you ever have people like, oh my God, it's Mike the Cop?
I would say that I have, but I wouldn't say I have groupies. It does happen. Where I left full-time police work in 2017, so I work in a very out of the way place right now, part-time. Keep my certification, keep doing the job on some level, and keep me fresh and still doing the job for the same reasons I did it in the first place. But so it's not as often now. But yeah, it has happened. But what are you gonna do?
I love it. I want to thank you for coming on. Before you go, like I tell everybody, especially on our Thursdays, every Thursday on To The Point, we honor our first responders and our veterans. The only guests we have on, you have to fit one of those two. So I want folks to be able to help your organizations out. I know you have a great nonprofit. Tell folks how they can learn more. We have people asking questions in the link. So tell us where we could find you and find out how we can support your great cause.
So for me, MikeTheCop.tv is my website. And if you look me up on any, social media platforms, I mean, if it's not this face or a pig with a machine gun, it's not me. I don't know. And so that's that. Callforbackup.org is our nonprofit helping first responders and including military, been on military bases all across the country. Stress resilience and suicide prevention training. It's a huge issue. So that's the nonprofit that I'm really focused on growing right now. And then as far as anything else that I'm excited about, if you guys are interested in history podcasts at all, I have one called Tales of Valor, and I'm really excited about that. We finally cracked like the top 100 in podcasts for history, so I'm really excited. And each week we tell the story, but from Medal of Honor recipients to first responders to ordinary, regular old civilians that you've never heard of, Tales of Valor. So I'm really excited about that. So if you guys like history and stories like that, then listen in.
I love it. Before you go, I got to tell you a funny story, only because you might find it enjoyable. So when I was going through the academy, we had to go to the range, and I was shooting, and we were shooting from distance for some reason. I don't know why, with a shotgun. They're like, hey, let's shoot from distance with a shotgun. So I'm up there, and of course, they have we're getting our weapons out of the armoury, and there's some salty.
With slugs or birdshot or what?
Oh, okay. Slugs. Crap hurts. And so we're sitting there at the armory, right? And I'm looking at the weapons. Of course, I'm used to them. And, they've got these salty old guys that are sitting there. And this one guy was talking. He's like, what'd you do in the Corps? And I was telling him my MOS. And he's like, so what do you know about our department? And I'm like, right before I went into boot camp, you guys had the good guy shooting, which was in 1992-93 in Sacramento. And that's the one where they took the hostages, put them in front of the window, and they kept their SWAT team. The long rifles were out, but they were on the pavement for like 12 and a half hours. And they didn't relieve him, which they changed that. But he dropped the shot. He took the first shot and missed by like a Texas mile. Like his windage was way off. So I made a snide Marine Corps mark about marksmanship, about he should have gone through our rifle training. And he goes, well, that was me. And I was like, I spent a long time pushing that day. Let's just say my smart mouth I got stronger that day, as they say. But it was funny because all of a sudden I just said it. You could just see his face go ghost white. And I'm like, yeah, Marine in me is like, good job, Marine. The recruiting me, dumbass.
It's out there. Can't take it back now. Now you just got to deal with it.
So it just, I had to tell you that. I was like, I'm going to tell him my really bad story. I have another one about a gun falling on the ground during training with the holster drills. That was a great one. When the gun rolls across my foot, it was not me, but the person just sat there and was like, they were the only one in our row that was a civilian, and we were laughing.
Whoops.
They're like, who doesn't have their weapon on their side? You know how you do that squeeze on your hip to kind of know that it's in the holster? I'm like, I feel it. It's not me. I know where mine's at. She was like, I think that's mine. I'm like, you should probably pick it up because it's laying on my boot. But anyways, it's fun. People don't understand these stories, but I do support you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for all that you do for the badge. It's greatly appreciated. And veterans. It's amazing that you blend the two so well. Thank you for coming on. Have yourself a great weekend and hope to talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Oh, there we go. What happened here? I need to go back to me. There we go. I'll do it. Woohoo! Magic. So that's our show for today. Great show. It was great. So we had Brandon Burton from Securing Life Today. Wes O'Donnell was talking about Cry Havoc, his amazing Vietnam movie that will be coming out hopefully in November 2020. You can go find that on Facebook. We had the amazing Jason Piccolo, who has done just about everything you can do as a civil servant. Also, we had what else did we? We had a whole bunch of people on. And then we, of course, had Mike the Cop on today. Mike the Cop. So just a terrific show. Great guests. Remember, every Thursday we honor our first responders and our veterans on this show. So if you know a first responder or a veteran that you think should be on this show, please send us a message, DM us. We would love to have them on our show. Now, tomorrow's show, before we get going, we have Sandra Posey coming on the show. Kurt Huffman from Portland, Oregon will be joining us. He just had an amazing article. Marcus Haney, United States Marine out of Sacramento. He's going to talk about his organization and what they're doing in Northern California to help veterans with their transition. And then Rachel Brennicky is going to be on. We're going to talk some law. We're going to break down the small business loans that so many of us are trying to apply for and not doing so well. She's going to give some insight to help some of our veteran nonprofits that are out there. And not just veteran nonprofits, but amazing nonprofits that are out there. I got to give a shout out, like I always do, to our friends at Expose Hope here in Portland. They're doing amazing causes and helping people. So make sure that you go check out that organization. On behalf of our entire team here at To The Point, from myself to our executive producer, Butch Seltzer, to our main man in the control room holding it down, producer Chris, and of course, the backbone behind the show, the little girl who came up with this idea, my beautiful daughter, she's also an associate producer, Madison, put this together. We want to thank you guys for tuning in every day. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. We'll be back at you tomorrow. I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.